fewer than 1% of adverse events are reported. This is what has been reported on bears. 43,000 deaths, 109 permanent injuries, 1 million hospital visits, 10,000. This is what's been reported. If you multiply that by 100, that's what you get. That's not real science. It's just suggestive. Now look at this. I'm going to show you, if you guys in the press are interested in the chicanery at the CDC, I'm going to show you something. Because there's only, which is their post-licensing surveillance. So the pre-licensing, there's no science. Post-licensing, they're only getting 1%. So CDC came under a lot of criticism for that. They said, we got to do better. We're going to do an AI system. We're going to machine count it in a way that will capture 100% of vaccine injuries. How do you do that? The HMOs have all your vaccine records down to batch, and they have all of your medical records. So they could do a cluster analysis that could associate certain batches of certain vaccines with certain injuries, and in that way they can capture 100% of the injuries. So CDC said, we're going to do that. We're going to experiment to see if that can be done. They hired another HHS agency, the Agency for Healthcare Research Quality. They gave them $1 million to do a 3-year study on one HMO, which is a Harvard Pilgrim HMO. And here's what happened. They came back after 3 years, and AHRQ said it worked like a charm. We're getting 95, 98% of vaccine injuries, but here was the bad news. They looked at 750,000 patients. 376 had been vaccinated. 35,000 had possible reactions. That's 10%. 10%, for those of you who are not good at math, is less than 1 in a million. It's 1 in 10. So CDC was freaked out. And here's what they say AHRQ says in the report. And by the way, they hired Harvard scientists to do this report. They said, unfortunately, there was never any opportunity to perform system performance assessments because the necessary CDC contacts were no longer available, and the CDC consultants responsible for receiving data were no longer responsive to our multiple requests to proceed with testing and evaluation. So as soon as CDC figured out the system worked, it fired the people and refused to answer the phone. Now I'm going to show you something. This is what I'm talking about, IOM. In the statute, Congress says to IOM, your job is to be ultimately responsible for the quality of vaccine science that's coming out of CDC. So in 1991, IOM does its first report. Remember, the act was passed in '86. It looks at the DDP vaccine. It says there's 22 illnesses that we believe are being caused by the vaccine. We've looked at the literature. In 6 of those illnesses, the literature confirms it is being caused by the vaccine. In 4, that number's hiding back there, it's not being caused by the vaccine. But in 12, we don't know, because there's 0 literature. CDC was supposed to produce that literature for all of these: anemia, juvenile diabetes, Guillain-Barré, chronic neurological damage, learning disabilities, attention deficit disorder. These are all part of the chronic epidemic. IOM was worried. We think these are being caused by vaccines. You got to do the studies. CDC didn't do them. So it rebukes CDC and says, if research capacity and accomplishments in this field are not improved, future reviews of vaccine safety will be similarly handicapped. Okay, they come back 3 years later. Now there are 54 conditions. 38, 12, yeah. I think 5, no. 38, we have no idea. And again, here you see SIDS. SIDS started appearing then. and now it's the biggest killer of kids. We never heard of it before '89. Diabetes, etc., arthritis. So then they rebuke CDC and said, we regret the uncertainty and urge that more definitive research should be done. They come back 15 years later, 2011. This is IOM. This is the scientific establishment. Okay, and look at the list now. 155 never studied. Look at what's here. Autism. IOM in 2011 said you haven't studied whether autism is being caused by vaccines. This is long after CDC said, yeah, it's settled, no more studies should be done. But all these other ones, this is the epidemic. And IOM saying, we think it's the epidemic, you're not studying it. Now look at this. I just want you guys in the press to pay attention to just these two slides. You see, this study is in this book. This book is 750 pages long by IOM. On each page, they have a vaccine, a disease that they think is caused by that vaccine, and then they have a list of the studies and analysis of all the studies that have been done of those associations. So here is a typical page. This is autism and the DTaP vaccine. Here's what they say. There is one study only. That study, Guyer 2004, says that autism is being caused by the vaccine. However, we are not going to count this study because it provided data from a passive surveillance system and lacked an unvaccinated comparison population. That's their own system. It's VAERS. They're saying VAERS is so bad that any study based on it, we're not going to credit. That's the only system they've got for post-marketing surveillance, and IOM is saying right there, clear as day, it doesn't work, you're not doing your job. So this isn't me against the scientific establishment, it's me against CDC. Now I'll show you something that you should be mad at. This is CDC's website. You see what it says? Vaccines do not cause autism. It can't just say that, it's got to cite something. What does it cite? The 2011 Institute of Medicine report. That's this report. That's not what it says. It says we have no clue. CDC just has faith that every reporter in America is going to read this and swallow it and is never going to look at that report. That is a problem. We cannot have democracy if we don't have a free and independent and inquisitive press that is skeptical about broad pronouncements by government agencies that are interested in the outcome.